G'day, hi, and welcome. My radiator clicking. All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, TGIF. Those going first. Also, thank God it's Friday. I've got some Disaronno. That's what I got for today. It's a liqueur. First time trying it, I think. I don't think I've ever tried that before. It's like a liqueur. It's kind of sweet. It tastes like black cherries. Yeah, so makes it taste like a cherry Pepsi. Yeah, yeah, that's it turns it into cherry Pepsi. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I'll tell Mallory that her pick wasn't too bad. Let's read some of this before we get into this week in World Crazy. Okay, Disaronno original since Dupuis 1525 liqueur product of Italy. Product Produit d'Italia 375 milliliters, 28% alcohol. I cannot really read that. I can read piano, but I cannot. It's like O AOU OP. I cannot. It's shorthand. I can't read shorthand. Guaranteed. Oh, that's small words. On the seal here. This role of personalities engages your senses with complete intensity that has made the world's favorite Italian liqueur. Excellent on the rocks, simply irresistible with fruit juice, rum, vodka, or you're supposed to mix with other stuff too. Holy crap. Or whiskey. Yeah, I can see how this would sweeten up your whiskey for sure, creating a unique drink experience. Return or refund where applicable. Yeah, in Canada, we're starting to recycle just about everything. So yeah, that's what I got going on for my Friday. So I took like that much in it. So there we go. Right. I like the big cap on it. It's pretty cool. It's cool, man. So take off my granny glasses. This week in World Crazy. Has it not been crazy? Okay, guys, I think we hit 5,500 gold. Oh no. Before we get into this, I want to address a comment um, about, and it's something I've been saying for a long time. It gets kind of to the core of what I've been saying. Maybe the commenter, they'll know who they're. They were saying something along the lines of that like giving Carney praise kind of like is a no-no because at the end of the day they're all globalists and we should reject that kind of globalist agenda no matter what. And the only reason why Carney's getting trade deals is because he's in the in group. Correct? 100% correct. Um, but like what I've been saying is this: that there are no good guys. That's the whole point, right? It's mob bosses fighting. So the Trump mob boss is just the other side of the coin to the Carney mob boss. The only difference, like neither's on our side. The only difference is Carney's trying to, uh, like he's not like don't ever take it as again some of these wins that we're getting as that is for us. It's no, it's for their stakeholder capitalists and stuff like that. It's for their investor class, right? It's not for us. It's never been for us. I think I made that pretty clear. Well, what I was saying is, I know it upsets people when it sounds like I'm giving Carney praise. I'm not giving him praise. I'm just telling you where we're at. Because Carney, unlike Trump, I mean, he came out the other day they asked him like, "What do you think about the the currency crash and stuff like that that's going on?" Oh, this is great. It's wonderful. It's perfect. Now Trump wants a lower dollar, right? So the idea thinking is this: will destroy the purchasing power of the dollar, which will make it more competitive. Therefore, people will rush back to the United States because it's such a great deal to manufacture there because it's cheaper. Well, you got to think about what that means. You know what I mean? You got to think about, okay, well, what does a competitive dollar look like? Like the Canadian dollar is going up for two reasons. Number one, because the U.S. dollar is going down. We're at somewhere 73 cents or something like that. It's up about 5-6 cents since the beginning of the beginning of the last year. When Carney took over, and that's a positive for us. That means we're getting more purchasing power. But the currencies around the world are all dropping. The second reason why the U.S. currency is dropping is people are dumping treasuries, and Japan just dumped like 5.9 billion or something like that. Like that is a huge, huge hit to the market, right? And that's all Donald Trump cares about is Israel and the stock market, right? The stock market is not a wealth of measurement or measurement of wealth at all. It's just all it tells you is how much the world leaders are stealing from us, how much the investor class and the vulture capitalists are stealing from us. That's all it's telling you, because it's all propped up, right? And it's crashing. I mean, like gold and silver. Like if you look at the chart, it's just like straight up. Like it almost looks like those shit coins as they call them, like the cryptocurrencies. They're just like complete fraudulent, right? It's scary. It's very scary what's going on. Trump has got to be shitting bricks at this point, or maybe he's too stupid. I don't know. But like, if you realize what's going on, like to compete with the third world, to drop your currency so much that you're competing with the third world just to bring back manufacturing, that's not going to be. Yes, you will be manufacturing in the United States, but it effectively turns it into a sweatshop. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem. They're already doing this with the foreign workers, right? Drive the wages down because capitalism. We always got to drive the wages down to become more competitive, rather than saying, well, okay, well maybe we put in some checks and balances so we don't have to keep competing with the fucking third world. You know what I mean? That's the way tariffs were supposed to be used, right? Is so that your labor doesn't get undercut. But when the people that run the system, this includes Trump, includes Carney, uh, you know, buy from those people, like that's what we're competing with, right? And it's not just them; it's the whole system. But the thing is people are Germany's trying to repatriate its gold. It's been trying that now since I think 2010, 2012. The Americans are not giving they're not giving people's gold back, right? Because nobody trusts the Americans to hold their gold. This has been going on for a decade now or more, right? But people are now demanding their gold back because it's like they know when everything collapses, they lose all their the U.S. vaults can't be trusted, right? The Federal Reserve can't be trusted. That's exactly what we're seeing. Like we're seeing the death of an empire. Like and it's lashing out in all directions as it's going down. Like it's about to start another war with Iran for another distraction. But they have to do the war with Iran because if the economy gets any worse, there's another government shutdown. I mean, the whole thing can just implode at any moment now. So if they don't get it done now, they're never going to get it done, and Israel will not allow that. The United States must do what Israel says, and that's it. It doesn't have a choice, right? A lot of people, like again, the U.S. administration is completely, well, 2/3 of them are dual citizenship Israelis, right? So, um, so doesn't matter how many U.S. soldiers are going to get killed on this one. And the way I look at it is like, okay, if you're on those warships and you're still following these orders, like I mean, you reap what you sow. Like I'm not going to feel bad for these ships going down, like because it doesn't have to happen. Iran is not messing with anybody. Now, the Iranians are making fast moves to get people out of the country, flying people to Moscow. Chinese have brought in equipment, Russians have brought in equipment. Like the war in Venezuela or the raid in Venezuela, that was a move against China and Russia, right? That's what Cuba's about. That's also kind of what Trump, is like us, like Trump is trying to disrupt our relationship with China, which again, to me, it's out of the frying pan into the fryer when it comes to China versus the United States. Carney, whether you like him or not, was correct about the superpowers. Like that. It's like like rather than us mid powers grovel at the table to get the best deal. Maybe we should just kind of band together and tell the big guys to go fuck their couch. You know what I mean? And that was probably the biggest threat that Carney made against Trump. Basically, that what the mid powers, if they band together, you guys can't bully us around. And what have we been seeing all week after Carney's speech? Simple. Everybody's dumping U.S. treasuries. This is not good for the United States at all. At least not in the short term, anyway. Long term, Mad Max at best. I don't know. Guys, I told you, 10 years of chaos in 2 months. You're welcome. It's like 10 years of chaos in 2 months. Now Trump's going after like the Gulf Stream and going after like our Bombardier stuff with the Globe, the Globe jets or whatever, saying, "Oh well, if you're not going to allow our," and he listed off a whole series of Gulf Streams and whatever. If you're not going to allow us bring those into Canada, well, you can't bring your. We're going to what's called decertify, Canadian-made like regional jets and stuff like that, which would be a fucking nightmare for the airline companies, considering you guys have like something like 1,200 regional jets that are made, or Bombardier made, right? Like again, Trump still hasn't caught on to the what I've been saying, and a lot of Americans haven't, because a lot of people think everything works like a Hollywood movie, right? Just flick a switch and then good guys, bad guys, black and white, right? That's all they think about. No, our economies in almost every fucking thing you could think of is like a tumor grafted, a big, large American tumor grafted to a Canadian tumor. That's how intertwined our economies. This includes our airline companies. But the thing is whether he'll do it or not, but he can't just decertify FAA certified aircraft, even if they come from Canada, right? And there's another problem. The jets that he's saying that we're not allowing into Canada, there's already jets here of that, that are certified here, like that are, Boeing made, like they're here. Like, it's like, what's he fucking talking about? What he's talking about, and again, it's the same with the auto sector and all that. What Trump is talking about is that we have to give up our entire manufacturing in favor of theirs. Why? Because again, he hates Canada. His goal is not to make a good deal. Carney figured this out a while. You're hearing less of the right wing coming out and saying, well, Carney has to make a deal because this is all Carney's fault, because Canada's in a bad position now because of Carney. And it's like, they're coming to the realization, like, you can't appease Trump. That's not his goal. His goal is to destroy Canada, to take it over. To the point where you sent not Pineda. Anyway, that guy, to go meet with the Albertan Separatist Party. Same way they did in Greenland and stuff like that. Now, the Daniel Smith, I'll pivot to that for a second. I think I got all the economic stuff for now. Yeah, there was the Jets again, the gold and silver. Everybody dumping U.S. Treasuries and fast. Like China just got rid of like something like $850 million or $1 billion, whatever it was, of U.S. Treasuries. Like it's just ridiculous, right? And that's China's move to squeeze the United States. They go, yeah, you want to fuck with our oil? That's fine. But we can dump your treasuries and cause way more chaos than stealing a couple of freighters worth of oil, right? So China is fighting back. They're just not shooting. That's all. And again, at the end of the day, China is the number one threat to the United States, and vice versa, right? And again, it's all these superpowers that are acting like assholes, right? Russia, China, the United States, right? They're just like everybody has to follow our leads and that's it. And it's like the rest of the world's just saying, how about you guys just fucking leave everybody alone? You know what I mean. So people are going to decouple from all the superpowers in the next 10 years. Why? Just because it's just that kind of hegemony is just not acceptable anymore. It's just like, okay, we have to go to war because you have to fight Israel's enemies and shit like that. Like nobody wants to do that anymore, right? So I think this is kind of like the last hurrah. If they don't get World War III going now, they never will, right? They'll collapse before they can. Now, China has got problems too. Don't get me wrong. Like the Chinese are going to collapse as well. It's just they're going to take a little longer because you can't collapse the United States without collapsing China, and vice versa, right? It's tumors grafted together, right? So basically, Carney says the right thing in front of the cameras. Now, we can only speculate what he says behind closed doors. And again, like a lot of conservatives are saying, well, he talked to Trump, but we have no transcript of the call. So what was said, it's, he said, he said versus he said. And to me, that doesn't matter. If you have the transcript, great. It's what he says out in public that we have to hold him accountable for. So Carney's saying no. Like again, remember Trump going on about us basically interfering with their elections, by Doug Ford's commercial there using Ronald Reagan's message. Which one thing a lot of people miss on that, whether it's taken out of context. Not really. I mean, Ronald Reagan was a free trader. Like he was for NAFTA. He was what I mean. He was for free trade. He wasn't a tariff guy like Trump was, right? That's well documented, right? And I understand like the people that are just like, I hate Carney because he's not Trump. I get that. There's not much you can do about that. But you got to look at it a little bit more nuance of we're caught between mob bosses fighting. And the Carney mob boss is trying to outrun the collapse of the United States. No easy task. But the wins we're getting, it depends how fast it happens, right? Like if it happens this month, next month, well then, game over for everybody, right? And then, out of the ashes, who will rise, right? But, when you got American, staffer members going and meeting with separatist groups in Alberta, which Danielle Smith, she's basically, she knows how to politic very well. You gotta give her that. She knows not to piss off the base of her, of the people that are, disenfranchised. And that's like 1 million people in Alberta that want to separate, right? It's not the majority, but people are hyper emotional and it could sway so easily. And what she has to do is throw them a bone, but Carney has to throw them a bone. That's why an easy win for Carney would be to ditch the fucking gun grab thing, because that's not the majority of Quebecers that want that. That's the Coalition for Gun Control, whatever they're called now. UN and George Soros back. That's they were originally brought out by the NDP. That's who wants it, right? And it'd be our provincial elections are coming up here. If I know what's called Legault is going to be stepping down. Now, the only option we really have is either the Conservatives or Lequec, right? Which is the Lequec is in all the left wing parties. We've had the NDP; they broke the province in half. The Liberals have been scamming us for years and years and years, and all the separatist parties, Parti Québécois, Bloc Québécois, Action Democratic. There's a whole bunch of them. They're all basically Marxist communists. What they are, right? They're separatists, but they're Marxist communists, right? They fucking kill industry. They're and the Bloc Québécois, their number one thing is sovereignty issue, right? And the only way they get that is by holding Quebec from developing its resources using environmental regulation, oh, because of climate change, we're not going to, jump into this or jump into that. And then hence why Albertas end up always paying us, uh, transfer payments, which I understand the Albertan, well, come on, guys, pull your fucking weight. You know what I mean? Like when we need help, you guys don't help. And they're right. They're right. And that it's not enough to break up the country, if you ask me. My take on separatists is look, I've already lived through the 1995 referendum. I see the separatists as traitors. I don't matter if they're in Quebec or if they're in Alberta. If you're, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, we got a big fight, and the big thing is that it's these people that think if you separate, it's going to fix all the problems. You're still going to be dealing with globalists. You're still going to like, how are you going to get your oil to market when it's globalists that own all the fucking oil refineries? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you need national sovereignty, and you only get that through unity. And I get it. It's hard when you have half the country polarized one way or the other. But I do believe there is again, it's not Carney that I'm looking at. What Carney's setting up is the next guy, right? And if he sets up the next guy with like fucking manufacturing and all kinds of stuff, and trade deals, that could work way to our advantage if we ever get a nationalist government in, right? Let him do all the heavy lifting and then just flip, whatever we need to, when a true nationalist government comes in, if they legally allow it. Like you see all, like in Australia, they basically banned, there was a party, like an Australian First Party or whatever they were called. They banned them using hate speech laws. The Jews came out full force on that one. There was like, no, anti-Semitism laws. If you make somebody feel uncomfortable, you can go to jail there for 17 years. Like it's like what or whatever. It's a ridiculous amount. It's just, but I mean, guys, that's you're getting near the end when you're in Banana Republic like that. You know what I mean? The United States is just like 2 inches behind. That's the whole ICE thing, for example. The government on one hand is funding ICE, on the other hand they're funding the Smalley crime syndicates that are like ripping off all the welfare, right? It's you know what I mean. Like it's all done on purpose, and the hypocrisy's there once you track it. Again, the radical left is just whatever, you know what I mean. They're insane, right? Like the majority of the people want the illegals gone. They want the fraud gone, whatever. These radical leftists, they're just anti-whites. They're just anti-colonialist, anti-patriarchy. All the stuff that they are, right? They're not rational people. And the way to go after them is not by, going after them per se. It's going after the people that enable them. The NGO groups, the stuff like that. And Trump won't go after those. That's the low hanging fruit. Just fucking wipe out all the George Soros, like ban every George Soros NGO group in the country. Ban them all. Start investigating these activist judges. You know what I mean? Do some fucking legislation. Do some fucking policy. Pass a fucking bill. You know what I mean? Thing is because if they don't, the Civil War is the only alternative, right? And that's going to happen, I think, no matter what. Up here in Canada, I don't think we're going to have, like, we're still teetering on it. Yes, the disenfranchised people of I call them Maple Magas. They might not all be Maple Magas, but it's an easy way to box them in. The separatists, if we become a part of the 51st state, we'll be saved. The people, right? Again, they're not bad people, but they're very misguided. The United States is on its way down. There's no sane person would want to join the United States right now. You understand that if Alberta joins the United States, it's going to have a $38 trillion deficit joined onto that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you realize what that's going to do to you. First, you lose all your health care, you lose all your social benefits. Okay, so maybe you don't care about that. That's fine. Nobody cares about healthcare until they need it. But all the high-paying jobs gone. Why? Because you're gonna be flooded with fucking even more mass immigration. Like it'll be, that's who's going to get the jobs, right? The temporary foreign workers. They're trying it now. You know what I mean? Danielle Smith is not too bad, but she, again, they're all in on it, right? To a degree. She's just, trying not to make people freak out. Okay, we'll have some temporary foreign workers, but not too many. You know what I mean? She's probably got one of the better stances on immigration in the country, next to here in Quebec, where like Quebec, it's all about being French, right? They don't care where you're from. That's why they embraced mass immigration years ago, because they figured, well, if we bring all these people in from African countries, most of them speak French, right? Because they're all French colonies. It didn't work. It didn't work at all. Like they didn't fucking, they didn't integrate at all, right? So now they're like, oh, well, maybe we've got to back that off a bit, right? So it is what it's a mess. It's a mess. I get it, and it's infuriating for everybody. It's like, no, we have to separate because Ottawa's fucking us over because we can't have tankers and pipelines. Okay, hopefully you want to. If you're separating, it's for more than that. You know what I mean? Like, but that's the majority of it. Like, there's some people, no, it's all about this and that and the other thing, and self determination, blah blah. And again, we've heard the rhetoric is basically rugged individualism, libertarian rhetoric is mostly what you're hearing, and that's most of them. And you have to understand, most of the people promoting the separatism in the West are U.S. backed. You know what I mean? They're either a dual citizenship American, or they're just like they're on the Gibbs, right? They're on the Gibbs. So take that into consideration, right? Now, that said, what would happen to those people if they had a referendum and it failed? Well, it's going to be bad for those people. The best I can suggest is, like, if you're really that, you're right at the border. You know what I mean? Just like the way I look at it, if you want to separate, just move. It's a lot easier. Why wait? You know what I mean? And right there, once you start thinking about it that way, it's like, okay, why wouldn't I? Well, why wouldn't I move to the States if Canada's so bad? Well, there's a reason why you're not moving. You know what I mean? Like, because again, that's the easy. Like, why would you wait for a referendum when you could just simply move? Apply for citizenship in the States, right? There's a reason why you're not doing that. You might want to have to think long and hard about that, because what you're probably going to come up with is that the States is not a better option. It's not. It's not a better option, especially right now. They're losing manufacturing. They're losing all kinds of problems. They're going to war with everybody, including us. It's really, I don't want to spend too much more time on it. It is a problem because I know how hyperbolic things can get, and propaganda is one of the big problems. Now, the mainstream, they are fucking guilty of this big time, right? Of, like, right now they're acting all surprised that, oh, well, it's all this fake news online. Yeah, because of all the lying you guys have been proving. I'm not saying there's no fake news online. That's why, like, every story, even this guy that got shot, there's already deep fakes of that, to make it look like they just fucking blew him away, right? And it's not quite that simple. And it's getting to the point where what I want to know is who's using all these AI who's making these AI videos that are you know what I mean? Like how come you can't crack down on that? You know what I mean? Like, who's doing it, so why are you letting it happen? You know what I mean? Like, okay, this channel it's a bot channel, it's an AI channel. Why are you and it's putting out fake news or fake footage or whatever of ICE doing stuff. I'm not saying ICE is perfect by any stretch of the imagination. No, they're a byproduct of years and years of not protecting your border, no rule of law. That's why they're out there. That's what people don't ask. It's like, well, it's about the Second Amendment, and you got a lot of people on the rights, out there against the ICE guys. Oh, how dare they do this and shoot citizens and the right to carry and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, why does that scenario exist? Because you had no rule of law and people walking across your borders. Maybe we should be arresting administrations for allowing all this happening since 1965, right? Just a thought, right? So you're seeing the symptoms of it, right? But that said, like, again, all the Second Amendment people, sure, you got the Second Amendment, but you should have common sense to know that, especially this guy was unhinged. Right to the self-defense, sure, I get all that, but, if you're going to be walking up armed to armed guys in tense situations, and then you're gonna find yourself shot. You could argue all day that it's your right to be able to carry and blah blah blah. Sure, but common sense would fucking kick in. Like it doesn't matter if you have that right. If you're going to a protest and you are a violent protester like this guy was, and you're going to be going fist to cuffs with these guys, maybe don't have a firearm showing. I just, but again, the radical left, that they don't practice self-preservation because they believe they're not accountable, right? It's like, no, it's by they're Machiavelli. Any means necessary. I'm allowed to do whatever I want because I'm a social justice warrior and I'm putting my body on the line, right? Because that's what they've been told to do. So they just believe it, right? So when they do face consequences, again, the left hasn't faced consequences for decades, right? For anything, all the rioting, all the people murdered, and now there's a bit of a reckoning. It doesn't mean I'm saying what ICE is doing, but I'm like, how can you not see it coming? You know what I mean? Like that's more of what I'm saying. And you're going to see a lot more people killed. Why? Because the system is what again, when you have judges and lawyers and statesmen, and city council and the police chiefs and all that are agitating this to go and protest and do this and do that. Of course, you're going to end up in a civil war like. But anyway, yeah. So we'll see what goes on there. The separatist thing. One last thing I'll say about that is, again, I understand like the sentiment, but no, the separation is not the answer. Because again, it doesn't go after the core problem, right? The core problem is the corrupt people in power, and it doesn't matter if you separate; you're still going to get those same corrupt people. Why? Because the second you separate, you're landlocked, right? So Alberta can't get the resources out. You say, yeah, but we'll just have a pipeline go down to the States. Yeah, that's exactly what they would love. Why? Because then they can just fucking rape Alberta that way. If you think Ottawa's treating you bad, you just wait to see how Washington would treat you. That oil, they don't care about Albertans. They care about the oil. They care about the resources, right? They'll exploit that. They'll use foreign labor to do it. There's no doubt about that because they want to do that now, right? Why? Because you'll be dealing with the same people. The only difference is the title will be, different. So there's a lot of mess. There's a lot of disinformation. The mainstream media, the thing about them is they breach the trust of the people. It started really noticeable in 2020, right? All the lies that they told there. And, gaslighting everybody and delegitimizing anybody without, just like basically banning everybody, right? And then they have the nerve to come out and say that all these people are misinformed. Okay, well, where was the debate? You know what I mean? Like there was no debate allowed. It's just what made you guys the arbiters of truth because you're the mainstream media? I don't think so. You know what I mean? That's why you have separatism. That's what you're seeing, right? Is people don't trust the system anymore, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But no, that won't be the answer. You have to look at things for what they are, okay, to be able to figure out how to get around the problem. Until we go after the root causes of our destabilization, which is NGO groups, Jewish money. There's no way around that. It's all openly admitted stuff, right? All this hate speech laws, everything like that. The mass immigration, all the immigration fraud, all that stuff. We have to go to the sources of who made the policy, who's opening the doors, who's turning a blind eye, who's taking kickbacks. And yeah, it's very corrupt. It's an overwhelming corruption. But the thing is the appetite for righting the ship is there, and the best way they can deter, like you have two types of people in your country. You have those who just want to be left alone and prosper, and then those that just want to rip everything apart. Right? They're like a death cult. These world leaders we have are pretty much like death cults with the. Some of them are just greedy, like Carney's just greedy, so the win there for us is that at least he's not trying to kill everybody like Trump is. Trump's, he's making money off of this. Don't get me wrong. Like he's making like crazy, like this whole new. And all the people that are like on board with this this new what's called peace initiative or you know you know you know the thing he's doing there for the Gaza thing. What that's about is how do we get everybody to fund Gaz Largo? That's what that. Yeah, give us $1 billion and you can join our peace initiative or whatever. And like nobody want Germany's declined. Yeah, like yeah, there's a few kiss asses that are like, oh yeah, we got it. Like Canada's like, oh you're not allowed to join our club. Well, good. That saves us $1 billion, so that they can, again, Trump is he's the trustee of it. Like he's going to be making money off of it. It's like it's so bad. Like I mean, that's crazy. And I know as soon as you say that, well, yeah, but Carney's going to be making money off it. Yeah, you're correct. Mob boss is fighting, but just because one guy's you don't like one guy doesn't mean the other guy's good. You know what I mean? And just because you don't like the guy doesn't necessarily mean the guy isn't giving us some benefits either. Like I know they got to be all pure evil or all pure good, and you got to get out of that thinking. It doesn't work like that. Like for example, like Canada, like right now we're flying Griffin helicopters to the to the Arctic and stuff like that. We're really starting to beef up the Arctic, right? And stuff like that. We're beefing up our military, everything like that. The thing is that Carney knows that it's not just going to be us fighting the United States. The Russians, like Canada, is caught between three hostile superpowers. China, Russia, and the United States, right? All of which want our resources. All three of them want our resources. The Chinese are willing to pay for it. The Russians, they still got to deal with Ukraine, and Ukraine just whacked the shit out of a ton of fucking. They destroyed like something like $100 million worth of aircraft with drone strikes there. I don't know if you guys saw that footage. Maybe that was the rabbit out of the hat that I was talking about. That Ukraine, and mind you, Ukraine just took massive losses. Again, it's getting to that point where it's just like the final tug of war. I think is taking place. I do believe there's going to be a stalemate at some point. But look, what Ukraine is doing with Russia, with that, hitting all the, like, there was Su-34s, Su-24s, cargo airplanes, AN-12s, you name it, all kinds of military aircraft hit on the ground, MiG-31s. These are critical for Russia, right, to have. Now, mind you, air power is kind of given way to cruise missiles and so on. So the air power is not as dominant as what people think. But if you want to see what a Canada-United States war is going to look like, that's exactly what it's going to look like. Your F-35s, we're going to get most of them on the ground. Your F-22s, we're going to get most of them on the ground. The F-15s, we're going to get them on the ground. It's going to be drones. You don't have to destroy the entire aircraft. You just have to blow a hole in the wing. Just keep it in a state of repair. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, yeah, so that's a bit of a rabbit out of the hat that Ukraine pulled. Will it make a difference in the war at this point? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, we've seen wars in history where it was like, okay, those guys lost for sure. Like, that's it. It's game over. And then, bang, comeback kid, right? I think we're about to see that with Ukraine, believe it or not. It's probably not going to happen until about spring. It's going to be some sort of a caught off guard offensive. But the key that Ukraine has to do is keep striking the Russians in their own territory. Once civilians start, like most civilians in Russia are, I don't know what the polls are now, but they were they understood that they're fighting NATO, right? So they were basically on board with Putin, right, for the longest time. Once your relatives are getting killed by Ukrainian drones coming in, there's one or two things that'll happen. Either A, they're like, oh, those damn Ukrainians, whatever, or it's like, well, we understand why they're hitting us, and it's our own government that's fucking us over. The same thing's going to be when you see all these warships go to the bottom of the fucking ocean. when the Iranians start sinking those, right? And people are going to be like, well, I feel bad for the U.S. sailors, but what the fuck are you doing there? You know what I mean? It's like there's no reason to be attacking Iran. Remember when Trump came out and said, look, that's it. We destroyed their nuclear facility. Everybody knew it was bullshit. It was a limited strike. They probably told okay, well, we got a signal to the Iranians that we're not really going to, take it any further than this. And now the Iranians like, well, the Americans lied to us. They did their symbolic strikes. Now they're coming back again. What's the pretext this time? Doesn't matter. The U.S. always finds pretext to go to war or trade deal or what. You know what I mean? It's always something, right? It's always national security. We got to preemptively kill these guys because of national security, right? So most people are, can figure it out. They're still there's still Trump loyalists out there. I don't know how, but again, it's the same as the radical left, right? They're not reasonable people at that point. Yeah, because he's fighting the globalists, because Q said so, because they have an inside source. yeah. And arrests are coming. Yeah. Remember when we heard all that? Yeah. How many people have been arrested to date under the Trump administration? Oh, yeah, that many. How many bankers have went to jail since 2008? Well, 2 in Iceland that went to jail for like 2 months. That's it. That's what we get. And because we didn't throw those fucking banksters and globalists in jail, and the stakeholder capitalists and all those in jail for that collapse, now we're living the death rolls of the 2008 collapse. Look, I started thinking about this the other day. Right now, if you were to look at 1929 to 1933 and what a dollar could buy you in those years in groceries or whatever, a whole dollar, okay, comparison to what you could buy now, just the physical contents in a shopping cart. For $1, you could probably fill half of a shopping cart back then. What can you buy for $1 now? Almost nothing. you know what I mean? Like almost nothing. It's crazy. It is so insane how much purchasing power we've lost because of these fucking globalists, and Trump's one of the worst. The only difference is Trump, like I said, been saying since 2012, the New World Order chair is a bloody chair to sit in, and they all want to sit in it. And what I've been saying since 2019 is that it looks like, and Catherine Austin Fitts kind of came up with the same kind of conclusion I did roughly around the same time. I've never talked to the lady, but I guess we're dialed into the same thing. Her take is, she goes, we don't really know who Mr. Global is, right? It's either, there's a source behind all this madness and chaos, or it's just everybody in it for themselves and this is the chaos you get. And there's 2 frames of thought on that. My thought is that no, it is a world order. It is, the world is a stage. It's messianic order from chaos, but there's multiple factions fighting, mob bosses fighting. To me, that's what makes the most sense because that's what we can see. Now, beyond these mob bosses, who do they answer to? I don't know. Satan himself? I don't know. It's hard to say. Right? There's so much chaos. It's hard to say. But you can always track the mob bosses, and when they're at the top like that, it's like who does? If George Soros answers to the Rothschilds, who do the Rothschilds answer to? You know what I mean? Who does the king? Who does King Charles answer to? You know what I mean? It's I think there's just a bit of a here's the top 0.1% that are playing a game of Monopoly. I want to control this. You want to control this. And I think at the end of the day, what it works out to is that it's multiple factions. And they all, want to be the number one mob boss. So you have, if you ever saw the movie with Bruce Willis, Last Man Standing, it's kind of that scenario but on a global stage. The only crazy part is that we all get caught in the crossfire. So, yeah, so with all that, new tariff threats, look, Carney's called Trump's bluff on the 100% tariff threat. And Carney is starting to realize that, hey, you know what? We're not maybe he realized it all along and he's just starting to reveal it now. Carney has outplayed Trump pretty much at every corner, right? It's the moon over Parador scenario. Trump makes a bombastic threat and then everybody tries to appease him. And then he doesn't follow through with it because the threat is so grandiose that if he did follow through with it, it'd be under chaos, right? And look, the United States around the world, the number one thing that Trump has destroyed for the United States, and this is what every American should be pissed about, is he's breached the American trust. People around the world are not just looking at, okay, it's just Trump, it's just Trump. It's like, no, half the country elected Trump, right? You can say what you want about Biden. Yeah, he was a bad guy, and yes, he did leave Trump a massive mess. The same way Trudeau left us Carney a massive mess. But at the end of the day, like there was no comparison. These guys weren't trying to destroy the fucking world. You know what I mean? Directly, like maybe, indirectly. Yeah, Biden was doing a lot of war stuff and whatever, but he didn't attack his own people to that degree. Where he just attacks everybody, and that's what Trump does, right? Trump, again, I don't think he's long for this world anyway. I'm not making any threats. I just don't see how you can keep going on like that and not. I mean, I'm listening to the veterans. Veterans are so pissed. And many active duty guys are starting to say, we don't want to fight the Canadians. We know what they're about. One guy summed it up pretty well. He goes, you do realize Canadians have spent the past 20 to 30 years training how to kill us? Like they've been basically training side by Americans. He goes, not only that, he goes, the big one is the veterans. There's about 250,000 or about 450,000 Canadian veterans, right? Not all these guys are old World War II guys. Like a lot of these guys are Iraq, Afghanistan guys. Those are the guys you have to really fear. Why? Because they're not going to be following the Geneva Convention. And more American soldiers are like, holy shit, I didn't realize half the shit in the Geneva Convention was just like a framework of what Canadians did in World War One. It's like we're just so fucking mean when we fight. And it's like, he goes, and then they look at their comments, they're like, yeah, the Canadians, yeah, bring it. Fuck you, make me, Like, Trump is in a major FAFO mode right now because it's like, holy fuck, everybody, like everybody's ditching the U.S. treasuries, the economy's dying, vehicle sales are down, surprise, surprise. Lutnick out there, we're winning. Like, Trump has to turn everything into a positive because it's this never apologize, never show weakness, never say you're wrong, double down, right? So yeah, no, this is great for the economy when the American people lose more purchasing power at a time when there's like an everything crisis going on. You know what I mean? And again, you can say the same thing up here in Canada, but we're not losing purchasing power. That's the difference. It's actually gaining. Now, a lot of that has to do with the collapsing of the United States. It's just their currency's falling faster than ours. That's all. But that said, we're also making some real growth. But a lot of the growth is stimulus. Like, for example, all the growth under Justin Trudeau for the past 10 years was basically expanding government. Right? Now, you can say, well, Carney's doing the same. He is doing that. That is a part of the stimulus. There's no doubt about that. Trump, same thing. When you put $12 billion into bailing out the farmers, yeah, it's going to show in the GDP numbers as a positive. But you're bailing out bankrupt people. That's not a positive. So, you know what I mean? Like, you run out of runway quick there. It's the same thing with the temporary foreign workers. The Americans ran out of runway on that before we did. So basically pumping up the GDP numbers with foreign workers is, like, it can go on for a long time, and it has been going on for a long time. But at some point, it's like, okay, well, once you have more people than jobs, like in the States, you have to start sending people back. You know what I mean? But the thing is we can never let the GDP numbers dip. Look, you could have a super prosperous society with falling GDP numbers, right? Like rocket high GDP numbers are just telling you that the CEO's got a bonus. It doesn't tell you. It's not a great indicator of wealth. It's an indicator, but it's not a great indicator because it's where's that GDP going? Like, is that just going into the pockets of the CEOs as it normally does? Right? So that's why, like, you see really high GDP growth in like India and China, but everybody's fucking dirt poor over there. You know what I mean? So moderate growth, like for example, under the Harper years, growth is growth, right? Like that's a good thing. But when it comes from natural manufacturing, natural trade deals, a stable economy. And that's one thing that Carney is giving is a more stable economy. Trudeau couldn't do that. Trudeau is the worst guy we've ever had. That's a huge mess. That's going to take 20 years to undo. Look, we're still trying to undo the mess that his dad did back in the 1980s. You know what I mean? Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Like, we're still dealing with that. You know what I mean? And I think Canada is going to come out on top if we can just get enough runway to do it, right? It's going to be painful. So if you're an American, I don't know what to tell you, but you better fucking prep. You know, I'm not giving financial advice or anything like that, but you better have enough food for everybody in your family for at least the next 2 years. And if you don't, go buy seeds, go buy whatever, canned things, start stockpiling, do the best you can. Look, food banks in Canada are overwhelmed. Food banks in the States are overwhelmed. Homelessness is at all-time highs in every Western country. Why? Because of what these elites have done to us, right? Now, Carney's not fixing everything, nor is he going to fix everything, nor can you expect. Even if he wanted to, he can't, right? This is gonna. It takes almost as much time to undo the chaos as it does to bring it in. It always seems like it comes in faster. To a degree, it does, but like the effects of it always take. Like you get rid of a policy today, it still takes a couple of years for you to feel the benefit. You do a trade deal today, it still takes a couple of years for you to feel the benefit. So the thing is, what Carney's going after is what he can get done immediately. So, like, for example, dropping trade barriers from province to province. I think that's a great thing. More trade barriers to drop by June. 12 trade deals in 6 months. Now, we could argue whether the trade deals are beneficial to Canadians. Like, for example, okay, great, you're bringing back manufacturing into Canada, and that's great, but who's getting the jobs? Is it temporary foreign workers? You know what I mean? Like, doing the trade deals with China. Do I want our country to necessarily move closer to China? No, but it's a big economy. If we can't have the number one economy, we're going to take the number two economy, right? And with China, you have to have a lot of guardrails on, right? Because China does do what's in their interest. Like, so when Lutnick came out there and said, yeah, China will just destroy the Canadian economy, and Trump said that too. Yes, if you go the way Justin Trudeau was going about it, yeah, like borrowing money from the Chinese central bank. Harper opened up the Chinese central bank in Canada, getting ready to do business with China, not borrowing fucking money and getting debt. Because the Chinese, they don't want your paper currency to pay you back. They want your resources, right? So when you go on to debt, China's done this model all around the world. I guess you could say all the big powers have done this. What they do is they hook you on their debt, and then they take your resources and trade, right? Because that's all that matters at the end of the day, not the paper money or whatever. It's the resources, and this is a big problem with China. I don't like visa-free travel that Carney wants to do with China. Like, that's a bad fucking idea. We have enough Chinese spies as it is. We don't need any more. And temporary foreign workers, all these foreign students, like, we got to get out of that scam, right? But we hooked our economies on the housing industry, big time. It was a bad gamble. This idea that we have to, perpetual growth, building 200,000 houses a year. Look, I know there's a lot of jobs associated with that. I'm not lost on that. But it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. Oh, well, there's no more domestic population to buy the house. We need community housing, and we'll just flood in third worlders. Yeah, it does. There's no profits to be made there. You know what I mean? It's like these data centers. The amount of money that's going to be lost on these data centers, right? And those aren't for just getting better pictures or faster internet. Like, dude, we really need the 5G internet? No. Or the 6G that's coming or whatever. Like, we don't really need it. You know what I mean? Like quality of life is good enough. For all this investment in stuff that doesn't really produce revenue, right? But look, Canada's going to have to invest in its own internet sites. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have FaceCan or whatever we want to call it. our version of Facebook, our version of YouTube. We're going to have to do those things, but they're going to have to be, okay, no. We're not going to allow NGO groups and minority groups and Jewish groups to completely control the free, like hate speech. Like we need the public square, right? But we need to be able to go around the U.S. control of internet. Like our servers have to be here in Canada. You know what I mean? Sure, Google can, still get it. But Trump, if he really wants to destroy our economy, one thing he can do is cut off the internet to Canada. But again, the thing is almost anything Trump does, like for example, the 100% tariff, right? If Trump does the 100% tariff on Canada, right? It hurts the Americans. You're talking millions of job losses overnight. Millions. Not thousands, millions. If he does that. Right? Destroying CUSMA is probably going to take away about 10 to 20% of the U.S. economy. Just because people won't know how to do trade. Of course, Trump will blame everybody but him, right? It's like, oh, it's Canada's being unfair. So, I think Carney's next play is to wait to see, because I think Carney knows that Trump is going to get rid of CUSMA. I think we kind of all know that, right? And the chaos that's going to come out of, yes, it's going to hurt us Canadians big time. But then it's like, okay, well, we're free of this agreement. Okay, bang. Let's just fucking go out and make like 100 trade deals in a month kind of thing. Okay, there's going to be a bit of turmoil for the next 8 months to 2 years. But after that, man, we're going to be like completely decoupled from the United States. And I don't want to completely decouple from the United States, but obviously we have to diversify. And we are doing that. And again, I've already given you some numbers. We've lost out of the 75% trade, if it's that high with the United States, we've already lost about 15.5% of it, maybe more by now. But that was the last time, a couple of months ago when I looked at the numbers, right? So that means our economy is now 60% dependent on the United States. But what did we lose, right? Now, out of that, probably 85% of the economy. Now, mind you, we made up that 15% and some by a minimum of 24% new trade, right? So that's just extra trade. That's just bonus. So when we lose the 15% from the Americans, it doesn't matter. The second we lose it, we're diverting the trade somewhere else. It's just there's the chaos of moving supply lines and stuff like that. And people are showing that they'd rather do business with us. Like, again, Volkswagen just closing down another production line in the States. Job losses, there you go. And they're going to be moving it to Canada. Even if it's more expensive to build stuff in Canada, at the moment, the key takeaway here is that people are valuing solid partnership and reliable, stable, boring partnership over chaos, right? Trump is just chaos. He's destroying the U.S. manufacturing. And again, he's doing it on purpose, right? Again, destroying the farmers so that Bill Gates can buy up all the farms. It's just plain as fucking day at this point. Again, food prices, February's in 2 days from the making of this. Again, you're going to start to look at what the farmers are saying. Like, if you're not getting the food shortages starting in February, maybe it starts in March, whatever. But the food inflation is already up. Like, it's not, gold's at $5,500. I already like I didn't think you would hit $5,400 till about May or June. Like it's happening that fast, and it's not stabilizing, guys. Like that's the thing. It's very, and the news media obviously, like in 2008, they're going to play it down until the very last moment. They're not going to report on it. Why? Because if bank runs aren't happening now, I don't know when they're going to happen. Anybody that's seen $5,400 gold or $5,500 gold or whatever it's at. Look, gold at the beginning of January was like, what, 4,200? Something like that. It's went up now, what, $1,000 in a month? That's like a 500-year, according to some people, it's like a 500-year move. We've never seen anything like this before in our history. Gold didn't spike this much in fucking, in 1929 to 1933. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's unfathomable what has just happened, right? And yeah, you don't feel that today, but give it 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. The shocks that hit you today, the tremor takes a little while before it really hits you in the pocket, and then you realize that holy shit, like it's yeah, like I mean, it's just going to be devastating. It's just going to be absolutely devastating for the Americans. And again, I understand the loyalists are still going to, it's Trump. It's the globalists that's hurting us, not Trump. No, Trump is hurting you. Trump is hurting you. It is Trump, him, and his administration, as well as the globalists. But yeah, but the thing is that the mid powers are grouping together. The Nordic Eight with Canada, the fucking trade deal of the fucking century with the EU. Like what, $1.4 trillion. The stuff. New trade going with China, the Southeast Asia. Like again, it just goes on and on and on. So there's a lot more trade deals and talks that Carney had. Like what Carney's doing. Like if Trump was doing what Carney was doing, all the Trump people would be praising him, and rightfully so. Where Carney's doing good. Now the thing is that Carney, okay, it's his left wing pandering that fucks us up. Like for example, if Carney was, again, and it's hard to say because there's indicators that he's doing it, just he can't piss off his base, right? Like Carney knows he's got to deal with a possible separation uprising in Alberta and in Quebec at the same time. If he doesn't play his cards right. And I know it sounds funny, but the gun grab thing, like Carney, look, 15 police forces in Canada said they're not going to enforce that. That should be an indicator to back the fuck off right away. What I think he's going to do, just to pander to his base, is just kick the can down the road till next year. Or till it's till October, but I think he's going to kick the can down the road because the non-compliance, like they're saying, they seized 22,000 firearms. Yeah, mostly from gun stores. you know what I mean? And they're ripping off the gun stores. So you're going to rip off small business. Everybody knows this gun grab thing is like, it's so corrupt. Even people that are, not really anti-gun, but just indifferent. They're like, well, no, you can't just take people's property and not pay them for it. Just because, you made them a criminal, especially when it has no benefits whatsoever other than, Maoism, of disarming everybody. Right? So if Carney wants to give himself an easy win, do that. Just say, well, sorry, look, we miscalculated. At this time, people really, it's unpopular. It's unpopular with the police forces. It's unpopular with every province or the majority of provinces. We're not going to go at it for this time. And make sure that provinces can't say, well, we're going to go along with it. We're do our own gun ban. No, it's like we need to have some stability. Do that. Stop the temporary foreign workers as much as possible. Look, we need to, the Canadian population is shrinking. It's just what we don't know is who's leaving. We're down by about 120,000 out of 41 million people. That is not even a drop in the bucket of what we need. We need about 8 million people to re-emigrate. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but if it just worked in reverse, you would see the housing crisis disappear. Look what Trump said about housing. I don't want housing prices to go down. I want people to have value in their homes. Yeah, the rich people who already have fucking houses, the boomers who have a house and a cottage and a chalet somewhere. Yeah, let them hang on to their wealth. But the new people can't have fuck all. That's what he's saying. No, house prices are inflated. They need to come down. Housing shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a seller's market. It shouldn't be. It should be balanced. Fair value. In Canada, what's happened is, and again, it really got bad under Trudeau, obviously, is housing became a laundering system. So if somebody wants to launder $250,000, $500,000, they go buy a property for $10,000-$15,000, then they sell it to their buddy for, $2 million, right? And it's like a shack, a dilapidated, like a house like this for $3-4 million, right? That's money laundering. They're laundering money. They found a legal loophole. The RCMP knows about this. They're not cracking down on it, and it's mostly foreigner investment, right? I don't think any foreigner should be allowed to own property in Canada. Period. Full stop. It's a conflict of interest. You know what I mean? It oversaturates our market with buyers that basically hold our populace hostage and make completely prices everybody out, right? So until like that's the stuff that we should be fighting against, not we need to separate because you're still going to be dealing with those housing issues. You're still going to be dealing with the homeless. Why? Because unless you go after the systemic problems, and again, I'm not saying we can reform everything. And some stuff we're just going to have to fucking tear it down. It's not going to be a quick fight. There's no easy answer. There's no, hey, I just separate and everything fixes itself. Look, in 1995, okay, we were that close to fucking breaking up the country. I remember it well. 49-51 in our favor. And I remember even some of the most hardcore separatists at the time, we'd already had a pact. Guys, this is why I fucking hate separatists. I remember there was guys that we got along, we drank together, we partied. They were French, I was English, whatever, but we got along. But we said when the Civil War starts, just you don't shoot at me and I won't shoot at you. That was our agreement, and we drank to it. We shook on it. We said no. We know it's going to after the separation, it's going to turn into a civil war. Good luck to your side. Good luck to my side. I'll meet you on the plains of Abraham again, and winner take all, right? The native groups, same thing you saw in Quebec. What do you fucking mean you're going to separate? You guys didn't ask us what we thought about. Every native reserve would have stayed with Canada. Quebec would have looked like Swiss cheese, right? It'd be all these fucking pockets of native reserves staying with Canada. That would have been a nightmare. How would you have scooted that border, right? And we know the Quebec separatists wouldn't have honored that, right? So there would have been instant French-Indian War 2.0, and this time the French would be fighting the Indians. Well, the French-Indian War is the most confusing war of all time. Everybody was just fighting. There was French and natives fighting British and natives, fighting Dutch and natives, fighting fucking Portuguese and natives, fighting Germans and natives. What the fuck was going on? Everybody was shooting at each other. Natives fighting natives. And then they keep fighting everybody. It was fucking crazy. It was just a fucking battle royal. I mean, the history of this country, people don't understand where our politeness comes from. It comes from the first 250 years of our 490 years of basically just bloodshed, right? So when we do fight, it's okay. It's what was one U.S. soldier was saying? Goes, you gotta understand, those Canadians are really nice, but they got a lot of repressed anger in there. It's like when you make the nice guy fight, he's in it to win it. He's going to be mean, right? And that's true. That's why because we figured out, rather than killing each other's families off all the time, it was better off that we, found partnerships. Hence, the Canadian ethos is different than the American ethos, where the Americans are still more of an individualist-based society, where Canadians are a lot more collective. It doesn't mean communist. It means we're more likely to run to the aid of our brethren, right? 9/11. Again, Newfoundlanders opening up, 6,000 people, Americans that were stuck at the Gander Airport. It's no. Come on, buddy. We got some stew on the table there. Maybe we'll have a little lobster. Have some lobster, And people put Americans up in their homes. Donald Trump calling us a pariah state and this that, while our water bombers from Alberta and Quebec are putting out California wildfires. But apparently we're always taking advantage of the states, right? Carney fighting back with the, what Trump says. No, I support our armed forces. Look, Canadian soldiers got American awards, bravery awards, from what I mean? Right from, the U.S. State Department. They're like, yeah, thank you for being such great allies in Afghanistan. Trump really pissed off even a lot of especially American soldiers, American Afghan veterans that served beside Canadians. They all say the same thing. Canadians are the best soldiers you're ever going to serve beside. There's just not enough of them. And you hear this everywhere you go. I was on a city bus one time, and there was two American guys getting dropped off. I guess they were going to the D&D building in downtown Ottawa there, and they were talking about Canadian soldiers, and they're like, with another Canadian soldier, goes, "Yeah, you guys are the best. There's just not enough of you." You know what I mean? And they always say that, right? There's a reason why they say that, because when we're in it to win it, we're in it to win it, right? When we fight, we fight. And the thing is that Carney is using statesmanship to not overreact to, like, by dismissing Trump's tirades. It's like it pisses off a psychopath like you wouldn't believe, right? So, like, you might not like Carney, but he is playing Trump pretty good on this, because, like, he has to force Trump to do the unthinkable, right? And then, like Gandhi's theory: first they ridicule you, then they berate you, then they fight you, then you win, right? There's a method to that makes sense, and that's exactly what Carney's doing. Maybe he's a Gandhi fan, I don't know. Although Gandhi was like a hardcore nationalist, he hated Muslims, but I digress. You know what I mean? But anyway, the thing is that it's like by just like stating the fact of what Canadians accomplished in Afghanistan, right? For Trump just like dismissing all the and not just Canadians but British. The British were the coalition force that lost the most. They lost like 400 people. Including Prince Harry, flying his Apache gunship helicopters. The guy. Say one thing about Prince Harry. Okay, yeah, Meghan and or what do you call it? Not Meghan. Yeah, Meghan. Yeah, Meghan and Harry. Okay, yeah, I'm not a fan. Okay, but one thing about Prince Harry is he does embody like Edward the Black Prince a bit. You know what I mean? Where he had that kind of charm and swagger. Okay, he's flying. Him and his brother were flying helicopters. He happened to this guy sat amongst other British soldiers as a royal. And now, was he treated like a royal? Nah, I think the guys respected him. This guy's at the Victus Games all the time. So when you piss off somebody like that, probably the guy who made the royals look the best next to Diana, you know what I mean? With all the problems of the royals, again, I like the idea of a monarchy. I don't like our monarchs that we currently have. Okay. Will and Kate might be a partial exception, but even at that, it's like they're, whatever. The best ones you get are Will and Kate and Harry, and, if you could tolerate Meghan. At least the harmless, maybe not the best, but harmless. The most harmless out of the royals we've seen. The rest of them, they can burn in hell. King, I know I'm not supposed to call it the king, but I'm not a fan of the king. I don't think too many people are. But they do have opportunities here to take the higher ground. They're going to take it, right? Carney took the higher ground. It's like, okay, well, here's what we accomplished with that Trump is dismissing. Here's our medals, here's our this, here's our that. And American veterans and active duty people are like, yeah, sorry, Canada, he doesn't speak for us. Like, we understand your sacrifice. We understand Britain. We understand your sacrifice. Netherlands. Denmark. Greenland. Or not Greenland, but Denmark. Yeah. The Danes. We understand you lost people there too. So when Trump said, "Oh, they stayed way, way, way back," like, how could he even say that? Like, obviously, he said that to agitate, but why? What is he trying to do? Right? Like, what is he fucking trying to do? It's clear he's trying to destroy the U.S. economy and the U.S. reputation. If his plan is basically to do that so that, okay, well, no one's going to invest in us, but what will happen is we'll just have to invest in ourselves, right? It didn't have to work like that, because this idea of destroying the U.S. dollar to boost manufacturing, it's just going to lead to like extremely low wages. Like, if you think minimum wage in the States was $7 an hour, $8 an hour in some places. If you think that's bad, just wait till your dollar's worth half of ours, and it's going to happen. Carney is doing Stephen Harper era, basically economics, right? this time next year, we're probably going to be either an 80-cent dollar, 90-cent dollar, maybe even at parity. Depends how bad the U.S. economy gets, right? Our economy by this time next year is going to be still on life support, because it is on life support. But I think by that time, people, and again, you have to understand, we're only looking at the trade deals, right? We're not looking at the mom and pop shop going, hey, okay, well, our number one clients are the Americans. Well, maybe we need to promote ourselves a little bit more in Europe, you know what I mean, and get in on that. Again, Trump dismisses everything we do. He gives it praise and then he dismisses it, right? Oh, Canada can't go it alone. Yeah, I should be making congratulations on your deal with China. Oh, how dare you do a deal with China? The guy's fucking unhinged, right? Because he understands that is a threat to the United States. And in some ways it might be, because it depends how close we get to China. And I really don't want to see that happen. But Trump is forcing our hand, right? He put us in a desperate situation. The thing is Carney's not doing desperate moves, right? He's doing very strategic moves. The rallying cry that everybody around the world, maybe with the exception of Americans, is saying that, hey, we heard you, Carney. Yeah, maybe this whole idea of us mid-powers telling, Russia, China, and the United States to go fuck their couch, and we'll go it alone without them. Even if it's a little bit tougher, we'll be more safer together than trying to pander to these people we can't, that are just going to bully us and destroy us, and we can't appease, right? I think that's going to be the wave of the future, and that's again, the United States is not getting in on a lot of these new trade deals. The stuff that's was already in the work, like say for like the icebreaker thing. Trump's making it sound like he just made this happen 5 weeks. It's been going on since the 1990s. That's like Stephen Harper, Obama era, even maybe George Bush era for the icebreakers. Like it's been a long time coming, right? Stephen Harper, when he wanted to do the shipbuilding thing, he was just like, okay, we're going to build all these ships, and I remember he announced it. Like, we're going to build 15 super destroyers and 4 or 6, the Harry DeWolf Arctic Patrol boats, right? They were going to do that. And it's like, then all of a sudden it comes out one day, he's like, where's all our fucking welders and engineers? Like, it's like, we don't have enough. So they started bringing in temporary foreign workers to do that, because we didn't. Why? Because NAFTA under Brian Mulroney and Ronald Reagan or Clinton, basically, we turned ourselves to a service sector economy. Well, we can't have a service sector economy dominant anymore. We can't have our housing and automotive and service sector be the main drivers of our economy. We have to have small business as the main driver, which it is still currently in Canada. Large corporations are the main driver of the economy down there, and that has a lot of problems. But it's the trade from within that's going to really save us. That's, we have to build our own, we have to really boost small businesses. And I don't see Carney moving on the small business stuff enough. He needs to move on that more. That's the only way to save the mid-power economies, is that. Now, Japan, what's Japan going to do? I don't know. I do see Japan doing some pretty fucking crazy moves against the United States. Maybe they're doing it out of survival. Maybe they're doing it out of protest. I don't know. But Japan losing, they had basically a historic market crash. Nobody's talking about it, right? And that's affecting the United States. This is why your gold is shooting up. Everybody's dumping U.S. treasuries. Donald Trump is killing the United States, which hence will kill Americans. You're going to starve to death to despair, all that normal stuff, right? That happens in these things. So I don't know what else to tell you other than, the playing cards, like Trump, remember when he was sitting there telling Zelensky he had no cards? Well, Trump's cards, when he plays them, Carney's holding a better hand. He's holding a better hand, and the better hand is basically the unification of other economies, such as the EU. Yes, I don't like the idea of being regulated by the EU if that happens. But on the other hand, it might be the only survival move we can do. Look, it's going to take us 10, 20, 30 years if we start now to build the economy infrastructure that we need to be 100% self-reliant. 85% of, or maybe even 90% of the trade we do with the United States is stuff we can get from other places. That disruption, like that takes away. Pierre Poilievre was talking about it. I haven't been paying attention to Pierre hardly at all. He's up for leadership review, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. He's the best guy they ever had, popularity-wise, next to Stephen Harper, but it's like, can he win? He's going to have to change his, Pierre resonates with the younger crowd. There's no doubt about that. And that's a good. So, he's got to keep on that. But he's got to drop the whole, pipeline thing and move on to something else. Like, I'm not saying don't make it an issue, but people are clearly not responding to the pipeline, whatever. And the problem is the other thing he can't do, Pierre's usually a pretty smart man. He's not our guy, but he's as close to our guy as we can get, right? Will he be better than Carney? In some ways, yes, but in some ways, I think he'd be a liability to the states. So, like I say, conservatives sell us out to the Americans, the liberals sell us out to China, right? But Carney is making deals everywhere. And the deals, we have to look, the devil's in the details, always. So we have to look at each detail, which I have not done myself, to see, is it a good trade deal? It's a trade deal, sure. We've got 12 trade deals. Are they good or are they not? Some of them I think are actually pretty darn good. I know I'm not supposed to say that because he's a liberal, right? But what I'm saying is that if it's going to have positive benefits for my country and my countrymen, even if it's coming from the guy I didn't vote for, I have to call it out. I have to say, hey, that's good. Now, you would say, yeah, but all this other stuff is wrong. You are correct. All that other stuff is wrong. But again, to right this ship that Justin Trudeau fucked up so badly, look, the Davos people, they know the global trust thing is nobody trusts that crowd at all. These are all the biggest criminals in the world, right? And you got Klaus Schwab wrote a book about how to recapture the social trust or whatever. I'm coming from the guy who probably was so instrumental in fucking making people not trust the government, right? Globally, right? If you wanted the poster child of the person, the globalist you trust the least, it was Klaus Schwab. That fucking idiot's still going on about it. Here's how we're going to get the trust. We're going to use a manipulation plan to get people to trust us again. Well, that's why we don't fucking trust you. You know what I mean? Maybe if the whole world, how could these handful of people, these globalists, think they're right when everybody around the world fucking disagrees with them? You know what I mean? Again, true socio-psychopath types, right? But anyway, I digress. So, yeah, more chaos, no doubt about that. Today is Friday, so it's my reading day. I want to get as much reading as I can do today. I still recommend you guys, pick up a book and start reading, even if it's just 2 pages a night. Guys, look, we got hard times coming. We're in hard times, right? Don't keep any more money in your bank than you're willing to lose. I've been saying that steadily since 2010. I don't give financial advice, right? Because you're not allowed. You give financial advice and somebody, go out and buy Bitcoin. You go out and buy Bitcoin, then it drops or something like that. You go buy gold and silver and it drops. And, I'm going to sue you, right? That's why people don't give financial advice. But at least practice common sense. Don't keep any more money in the bank than you're willing to lose. That's what I'm doing. Fortunately for me, I don't have very much money. But that's also, unfortunately for me, too. I have no buffer zone. A lot of people, most people can't muster up $500 for an expense. For example, my brother lost the brakes on his van the other day. There, little blots of, brake fluid. Same thing as happened to me. He changed all his brakes a couple of months ago, and then of course, blew a brake line. Right. That's what always happens. So whenever you do your brakes, you should factor in the brake lines right away and just, do the whole thing. Super crazy expensive, but doing a brake job, even if you did it yourself, it's still a couple of grand. You know what I mean? Brake jobs are just so fucking expensive. And they're not going to get cheaper. But like shit like that just knocks you fucking down. Like, and you know what I mean? I fall and I can't get up. Like me, the water. Oh, by the way, yeah, the pipes. I've drained all the pipes, so I'm not worried about pipes bursting or anything like that. The plastic pipe between the well and there, if it bursts, it's not a big deal. I can replace that. But next year I got to pull that out anyway and put a heater coil extension on it there for next year. Yeah, so my water doesn't freeze, right? So I can take showers down here again. I don't like doing the showers up home because there's 5 of us up home and I don't want to run us out of water there, right? So yeah, there's that. But yeah, no, like with all this chaos and whatever side of the fence you're on, protect you and your family. Yes, there's stuff that's out of our control. And I bitch about the stuff that's out of our control all the time, like everybody else does, right? But there's also a lot of good things that can happen. Like let this black pill you. Yes, we're going to be living through these conditions for the rest of our natural lives. For at least the next 70 to 80 years. It's going to be chaotic like this. Look, people survived 100 years of communism. There's a way they had to do it. And it was probably mostly mental. So the old, like if you want stuff, buy it now. Because like there's going to be so many supply shortages coming up. Parts shortages. That's why like I'm having such a bitch of a time finding a vehicle. It's like every vehicle I look at, it's like, yeah, $5,000. Needs head gasket. $8,000. Everything's good. Going to need a brake job. Needs tires. Need a windshield. Like it's like okay. I was buying those same cars. Like the $500 car is just like that's a needle in a haystack now. You know what I mean? Like like the $400 car that you drive for 4 years. That's a needle in a haystack. What I might have to do is buy like 2 really cheap cars. And that was my goal anyway. It's just I didn't get the other car in time, like just these stopgap cars, right? I was talking to Jesse the other day there about his Charger and stuff like that, and we were talking about his old Dodge Adventure. So I said I love that car. That car was great. I did love that car. I really did. It was a cool car, especially with that V6. That sucker moved, but it needed everything. You know what I mean? Like he was going to take it for scrap, and I just bought it and thought, well, if I get 3 or 4 months out of it, and I got 3 months out of it, whatever, for $500. That's still not a bad deal. I made God knows how much I made on that there. I got it tallied up at home, but it's not the issue. The issue is the downtime. Basically for the past 6 months, I've been bumming rides off of people to get me to and from work. I hate it, because I know how much of a burden that is on everybody else. But there's nothing I can do about it. It's like until a vehicle that's in my price range pops up that is good to go. They're there, but they're getting rare. Like I mean, for $3,000, you used to be able to find a really good vehicle very easily. Now it's like $3,000. They'll tow it to your house. What about my trucks? Well, I mean, to fix up Thunder, just the stuff that it needs brakes now. Whatever. Without even tackling the engine, like just doing the stuff it needs, probably needs about $4 to $5 grand worth of work now. Probably cost me $8 grand to put that back on the road. You know what I mean? To fix every problem. I don't know what the engine problem is. I do plan on having a mechanic come look at it, after I get my next vehicle, if I have a little bit left over. Because I would love to have that truck up and running. I love that truck, But it's getting the parts, what does it need? It's been sitting a good while now. That's never good. And you know what happens when things sit, right? So it's just like I have no place to work on it, right? So like if I could, I would like fucking, have that. Like I can't fit it in the barns, but if I ever did, like say, get this property, I'd probably tear down one of the barns and build an actual garage that I can work on. And if for example, my brother's car, okay, well, put it in there. You can take your time, pull it apart, and do the brake jobs yourself. ourselves, stuff like that. But I have no place to do that. Work like it's like minus 20, probably minus 28 with the wind chill right now. You're not going to be working on a brakes out in that. It's just out in the snow, losing parts, and trying to lie in the cold ground. You just I've done it, but like okay, when you're younger, you do it. But as soon as you get my age, like you just it's so demoralizing. You just can't do it, right? You'd rather just throw fucking gas on it and light it up. I get it, you know. So like I'm used to taking the hits. Most people, like the government workers, are going to get hit last, right? Because they're the only ones that have kind of sort of the illusion of stability in their jobs. They do not understand that they are a big part of the problem. The government is just way too big. Like Trump moving that carrier group, like the billions of dollars. That's $9 million a day to move that carrier group around. $9 million a day. You know what I mean? Or maybe that's just the aircraft carrier. I don't know. Out of the out of the 14 ships or whatever there is. And if there's going to be two carrier groups, $18 million a day, surrounding Iran, ready to pounce with billions of dollars, worth of ordnance or whatever. Like again, it's just like that's not it stimulates the economy to a degree because you're paying all these soldiers and everything like that, but you're basically trying to spend your way out of debt. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really work that way. The death and debt-based economy that the Americans are hooked to is exactly that. You take their petrodollar or they drop democracy JDAMs on you, right? And Trump doesn't know what to do at this point. Like he's pretending he does, or maybe he's convinced that his plan is going to work. It is not going to work. When you drive those the value of the U.S. currency down, which it's just dropped, the prices of everything go up, and the feedback loop is this: prices of stuff go up, people get laid off. It's like okay, now it's more expensive to go to a restaurant. Well, now they have to lay off restaurant people. Then it makes it harder to produce, right? And then prices go up again, and then they got to lay off more people. And that's like the United States is now guaranteed headed for recession. There's no way out of it now. I think you're already in a recession. In Canada, we're not in recession, but we're the bouncing ball. Economy's up, economy's down, economy's up. Again, I still hold to what I'm saying. The Canadian economy is like good, bad, and gamble. The gamble is, can we outrun the collapse of the United States? I don't think we're going to make it. But maybe we might weather the storm a little bit better because we have better banking regulations than anybody else in the world. I don't take that with a grain of salt. But we are, with all the crisis that we have to deal with, we're still diverting trade. We're still doing this. We're still doing that. But again, it's a mountain climber effect the same way it was in 2008 when one falls, we all fall. The United States, their economy is bad, ugly, and disaster. Like there's just no positive news really coming. Data centers and democracy JDAMs are not, and health coverage, insurance spikes. People because of the government shutdown, people paying for that. That's what boosted your GDP numbers. And again, these data centers, it's the construction of them is boosting the GDP, but you're printing trillions of dollars to build them, right? So yeah, and the tariffs. Oh yeah, but we're making billions of dollars off the tariffs. Yes, but you're spending trillions. You're spending $1 trillion every 3 months. You need something like $19 trillion just to keep the government running. Will there be another government shutdown? It looks like probably. It's hard to say. Guys, the lights are going to go out down there fairly soon. And it's almost February. But be prepared. I don't know what else to tell you. The gold price should be putting fucking ice in your veins. Like I mean, and most people are oblivious. And you can explain it to them, they still won't. They won't believe you. They don't even believe you after it happens, let alone before it happens, right? You can explain to people that if you have gold, like a lot of people are like, oh, look at the gold prices up. I gotta go sell all my jewelry. Don't. Now's when you hang on to it. Like that should be your. like that's going to go to the moon. Like we're, like, and again, the gold bug people are like happy, but it's like you shouldn't be happy. I'd be happy if I saw gold drop down to like say like 30 cents an ounce. You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're protected. But we're not. We're just spending and spending. And there was a guy at Davos, I forget which world leader was, but he was just going on like he goes like the major concern is like just government spending like there's no tomorrow. We have to wrangle our debt. But when you promise everybody free stuff, right? There's no such thing as free. It's pay me now, pay me later, right? And the left, they don't care. Like they're just like, well, for social justice, we have to have equity and inclusion, and just like again, it's what Justin Trudeau tried to do to keep GDP numbers up in Canada was just create more government, government departments, right? Well, you run out of runway on that fairly quick. Now, Carney has hired about 40,000 or something consultants, but he's also laid off about 40,000 government workers. Now, provincially, government workers are, I think, on the decline, which is a good thing to a degree. But you have to understand, if you get rid of too many government workers too fast, you just pull a Javier Milei and basically bounce yourself into a massive recession. So you have to do it. Checks and balances are the Harper method. Is when you see, say, 20,000 jobs, stable jobs in the economy created, you wait, you see how it holds up, and then you cut maybe about 2,000 government jobs, right, or 200, whatever it is. You have to let the private sector take the lead, because that's always the hardest. Why? Because the private sector, the policies don't favor the private sector. They favor corporations. Trump only cares about corporations. He doesn't care about small businesses pretty much whatsoever. Look what he's doing to the farmers. Again, listen to the farmers. Don't listen to me. It's hard to find farmers that voted for him that are still giving him praise. There's a few. Again, there's always the hardcore. But the thing is that most farms are losing money. And pick a country, any country. Why are they losing money? Because of the way the regulations are, because of the gatekeepers of the stock market, and these big, giant, too big to fail agro guys. They're policy issues. Most of our problems are policy issues. Mass immigration being one of the biggest problems, right? Goes on and on. The ICE thing, I guess, yeah. So people on the ICE thing, okay, it's a weird divide that we're seeing now because of the Trump effect. Like it's like, you see the right really attacking itself. The left is doubling down in their communist rhetoric, right? You are seeing the centrist left, the centrist right kind of finding commonality that we all hate Trump because what he's doing, and not just what he says, but what he does. It's hurting people. Like it's hurting people for the sake of hurting people, right? Whether you're murdering them and stealing their leader, like basically he went and kidnapped Maduro. Like no American voted for that. Like no on the left, not on the right. Like no, we got to get that fucking Maduro guy out of there, or we're done for. Like no, that was a move against China. That's all it was. And the Maduro regime is still there. And they're being threatened, of course, by the U.S. administration. And same with Cuba and all that. Like Trump's, they say, we're going to have to make a move on Cuba because of national security. Well, the national security argument, like, is a policy. Preemptive strikes are a policy that should be done away with. Because that's not self-defense. And I know all the arguments, well, somebody threatened you every day, but until they make a move on it, you can't do fuck all. Once they make a move, yeah, beat the shit out of them. But let them make the first move, because it's always the Americans doing the first move when they attack another country, not the other way around. Oh, but 9/11 terrorists, that was an inside job. If you can't figure out 9/11 was an inside job by now, and again, it's like, who did it benefit? Cui bono, right? Like it's like the overwhelming evidence is there. It's openly admitted pretty much by at this point. We know who did it. Maybe not all the details and why, but look who benefited. Follow the banking. It's just until we get brave law enforcement, military, and honest judges and lawyers, this chaos is going to go on. And it's the active duty law enforcement. If they could, fucking cool their panties and going after people for hate speech and actually go after like fucking blue collar crime and, the pedophile rings and stuff like that, and, all the government corruption, maybe, just maybe, they could get us out of most of this mess within 6 to 8 months. That's how fast it could turn. But there's going to be some harsh realities, meaning we're going to have to live within our means. And the smaller countries, this was also talked at Davos. I think I'm no fan of the Davos globalists, but there are the odd ones that will say some things that are, like they could be bad guys and say correct things too, such as we have to live within our means. And live within our means comes back to what I've been screeching about forever and a day since I'm pretty much aware of politics. Right back, we have to balance our budgets. Once we have a balanced budget, we can control the world. It's pretty much, that's what it comes down to. The first country to balance their budget has leverage. Why? Because you can't get bullied by money printing. You can't get bullied by the banksters, right? We have to put the banksters in jail because, they survive on corruption, and usury and, the Ponzi scheme, right? So, yeah, there's that. So, anyway, things are about to get even crazier. Are you not entertained? Are you definitely not entertained? And I know, again, a lot of people don't like it when it sounds like I'm making Carney sound like the good guy. He's not the good guy. He's just a smarter mob boss. That's it. The accidental win for us is that, we might be economically okay if we keep following this. The longer it takes the United States economy to collapse, the safer we're going to be up here in Canada. But the big caveat is balancing the budget. And Carney's plan for balancing the budget over the next 4 years, I don't think is realistic, but we don't know yet. How far over is he spending? If he at least stays under his overspending cap of $74 billion, some people say he's going to spend $94 billion over, whatever. A lot of people say, yeah, but all the new stimulus spending is only $45 billion or $40 billion out of the $240 billion promised. That $200 billion, or almost half of our budget, is paying the debt, which I agree with that, and I'll tell you why. Do the stimulus, okay, but pay the debt. As long as the debt starts coming down, each year it'll be less. So maybe this year we half of our debt deficit or half of our budget is paying down the debt, but next year it's like, okay, our payments are now like 10% less or 3% less or whatever, and we get that much more money to reinvest and do whatever. It's the way we have to go, because it's like, what, we just don't pay it down? No, we have to at least make the payment, and so, you know what I mean? So we can't just be paying just the interest. We actually have to make the payment to pay down the debt. The second we pay off that debt, we'll be the richest country in the world. In fact, we'll be too rich. So, like there is incentive to not pay it down too fast, but then you can deflate. You know what I mean? Like you pay down your debt, you balance your budget, pay down your debt, then you deflate, right? Look, globalism has failed. I think we all agree on that. An expansionist-based economy that's not based upon natural growth, even if it's slow, is doomed to failure. This perpetual growth model is, I don't know how anybody's still holding on to it in the Davos crowd, because it's like, well, you're gonna lose too. It's your factories that are gonna be closing, you dumb fuckers. But anyway, yeah, it's like, look, I don't mind a bit of debt to restore manufacturing and harden. Like, for example, look, we're going to have to bypass Line 5 and Line 9. There's no way around that. The native groups, look, a lot of them are on board. The problem is it's these NGO groups that are not even really native groups, that are funded by the U.S. and Saudi Arabia and all that go after our, so that we don't develop our resources. The United States has been holding us down for a long time. Why? Because they don't want us to compete. Saudi Arabia has been, what do you think OPEC is all about? It's about keeping Canada down. You know what I mean? Why? Because as soon as we compete, we're going to get on the up and up very much quicker. But that said, like one thing about Alberta you have to understand is that they are vulnerable because of their, yes, they're doing well right now because of their oil sales. But you have to understand how vulnerable that is. You know what I mean? Like it's really their main cash cow. Okay, Ontario, it's the auto industry. Again, that's why you can't just, you can't put all your eggs in one basket like that. So in Manitoba, it's the potash and the wheat, the grain, the canola and stuff like that. Same with Saskatchewan, the canola and whatever, the farming stuff. That stuff is sustainable, but when it gets to the point where you're past sustaining your own country and it's just all comes about global exports, I'd rather be short on the exports and at max capacity than to overdo the exports and be vulnerable to globalist expansionist trade contractions. You know what I mean? Like that's I know it's big fancy terms there that making, trying to describe here, but you get what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? We need to live within our means. That means our government. A dollar up parity is fine, and the way to do that, let's say you balance our budget, okay? We wrangle our debt spending, we stay within the budget, but out of our budget, say 10% of our budget is just new infrastructure every year. No given timeline. Okay, you want that big monorail going from Quebec City to freaking Toronto. I'm all for that. Yeah, is it a huge make work project and a lot of waste of money? Yes and no. To me, the way I look at it, it's always because it's so expensive that it seems like a waste of money. But if you do it within a budget, and okay, so it takes 20 years to build it, fine. Like highways were a waste of money too, but look at you make it back over time. It's the infrastructure that's valuable, not the investment, right? Because if you've got a high-speed rail from one end of the country to the other end of the country, that's valuable. It might not be economically viable in the short term, but long term it does become more efficient. It does become more valuable. The rail system is still completely valuable, and our rail system is in major need of overhaul. There's no doubt about that. And privatizing, everything. Look, we privatized our rail system. Warren Buffett owns it. Why the fuck do we have an American owning our fucking our critical infrastructure, right? And of course he's cut maintenance, that's the problem with capitalism. It's always cheap, and then suddenly you got no fucking regulations, and you get Lac Megan tick kind of crashes, right? No, that's critical infrastructure. Nobody should own that but the Canadian people, right? But yeah, we got a long way to go, but we got to pick our fights where they're going to benefit us. Okay, Canada unfortunately has to decouple from the United States. There's no way out of that now. It has nothing to do with whether we like Americans or don't like Americans. It's the vulnerability of it. We don't want to be just going out of the frying pan into the fryer and saying, okay, well, we're going to go and China's going to save us. No, China will do the same thing to us that the United States is doing to us. We have to be able to hold our own. And that is going to be expensive. Right? That is going to take a lot of investment. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take about 30 years, right? But if we start now, every year it gets a little bit better. And again, I'd rather be, if we're going to go over budget, I'd rather go over budget of building shit in our country, okay? Because once it's built, you can kind of pull back on the spending, right? That's true stimulus. But when your stimulus is giving money to third world countries and shit like that, or giving money to Israel or whatever, that's not making you wealthier. We need the velocity of money to go up in our countries, right? So Trump, his plans are failing big time. I just can't find any wins, guys. And I'm looking. And it's just like, and every time you hear about, a great win, and you really look at it, it's like, okay, there's no there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, by devaluing the purchasing power of the American people, it'll lower manufacturing costs so much that everybody's just going to open up manufacturing in the States. No, they won't. It'll be the cheapest place to do business. But if it's an unstable country, no one's going to do business there. Why do you think Stealing the oil from Iraq didn't work. Stealing oil from Syria didn't work because from Venezuela, it's pretty much nothing's happening, right? So what was it all for? It was for show. It was to basically hurt China. That's it, not to benefit Americans. That oil is not going to make it to U.S. shores anytime soon, and if it does, it's going to be very low. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not the win. It's this geopolitics, globalist mob boss fighting thing where it's like, okay, well, rather than just saying, okay, well, if we don't like China, let's just not do business with them and wean ourselves off them over the next 10 years. Okay, fine, do that. But leave them be. I mean, they can do business with other people, right? Like the offshoring of American companies, right? It's the same problem that we have the offshoring of Canadian companies. It takes time to bring those back, and to do it without disruption, you have to be very selective, and you actually have to have a plan other than just blanket tariffs on everything. That doesn't work. It's not going to work. There's other ways to do it. There's other ways to do it, and Trump he's not smart enough to do that. Nor does he care to, because he doesn't care how much people suffer. He's upset that people aren't willing to suffer more. His own words. We could get this done if you guys would just be willing to take a little bit more pain. Easy to say, from billionaires. It's like Ben Shapiro. Well, if you're not making enough money, just go get a better job. There's another thing going on. Like people like that are so fucking out of touch with reality. These wealthy people that they just don't know. They just don't know. Like right now, people are stuck in their jobs. There's where it's just kind of like the job growth that's there is for jobs that are the same as what you have. So you're stuck in that job. You can't upgrade. You can't take a job, and then say, oh, hey, there's better pay, there's better benefits. The better benefit jobs are not there. It's all low wage jobs. You know what I mean? And those jobs are going to the temporary foreign workers. We've seen it with Canadian Tire here. Again, it's, where's Carney to fix this, right? He's not, it's hard to say. Maybe he'll do something, but I doubt it. Because, again, the Liberals, like, it is their cash cow. Mass immigration is their cash cow. Like, there's so many scandals, immigration scandals. It's not funny. But anyway, we'll see where we're at. I guess we're on to $6,000 gold, on our way to $6,000 gold. Guys, again, don't wait for the bank runs to be announced. You know what I mean? Like, don't keep any more money in the bank than you're willing to lose. And the idea is like, okay, keep some money in the bank, but like, to pay bills and whatever, stuff like that. But in general, no, I wouldn't be too, I'd be cautious with your bank accounts right now. Anyway, there we go. And if you have gold, silver, whatever, hang on to it. Just hang on to it. I know if it goes up and then you see the bust and it just crashes and the prices go down to 1,800 and you lost the run. Yeah, but you got to understand when it's going up like that, that's when you don't sell. And there's still people buying on the way up. Like maybe you buy today and in 2 months you cash it all in. And you still made money. You know what I mean? Like, you got to kind of get an idea of where we're going here. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. So food, bullets, bread, and bandages, guys. Bullets, bread, and bandages. Anyway, there we go. Have yourselves a good Friday.